So here we have the auxiliaries on another Maxim, and some of these are leaking. You can see a little bit of oil running out here somewhere, so there must be a seal in here that's leaking. We're also going to rebuild the couplers because number one is the coupler won't go in and out of the cartridge. So we are just going to rebuild all of them. We got a seal kit. They're all kind of leaking a little bit, I guess. So we're going to start by taking this bracket out, take the lines off the back, and then we're going to rebuild each individual valve pair. So just a simple kit from Case, and we'll show you guys how to get it apart when we get those valves off. So here we go. So to get that valve body off there, I got to get the stupid lines off at the back. So just putting a couple bolts in there keeps that valve from spinning. But those lines are a stupid metric size that I don't have, somewhere between 29 and 32. So what I did is just took 1 1/8 and just shaved off a little bit on the inside, made it 1 1/8 and a little bit more, and it fits super tight. So if you're in a jam, do the same thing. Okay, now that we have our valve body out, we can take the cartridges out, and it's held in place by this little 3-tab holder, I guess. Just pop that out. Underneath that is a spring, and the spring loops around both cartridges, so you can just pull that out. It should come out fairly easy. And poke it from the bottom. It's coming. And that's all that is. So it just loops right around, and that's what keeps your cartridges in place. So you can stick it in a vise, being careful not to just to hold it. Don't squeeze too hard, otherwise stick a rag in there. You pop the cover off here, pop that off to the side. There's 2 rubber washers, clean those later. They're held in with 2 snap rings. And just pull them out. Behind that is a spring. Take the spring out with it. And then the cartridges should come out. 2 needle nose works good. They're pulling out evenly, it works much better. There you go. Inspect the spots where the seals ride, and you can use some very fine emery cloth or sandpaper to sand those down. Don't do too much. You also want to inspect this little groove right there. Make sure that's not wore. If it is, when you put the cartridge back in again, it'll sit too far and the spring won't want to go back in the groove there. These are supposed to spin. Now you can get out your O-rings, and I like my dentist picks every time I go get my teeth cleaned. My dentist keeps a couple to the side for me, and you just pull those O-rings out. It's a flat washer with a O-ring behind it. There you go. Put those off to the side and pop the new O-rings back in again. That's the easy part. There it is. Now we take our plastic washers. Now you can put these in the freezer and shrink them, but the problem is they become hard and brittle. When they're a little bit soft and more flexible, I've had just as one way or the other that works okay. It's just you don't want to kink it. You don't want it in a inside where it's folded over like this, because it leaves a mark. So what I like to do is put it in on a bit of an angle, and then start putting it in a groove, and then pulling. You'll feel it get really tight, but it will compress, and then pop it into the groove. The bottom one is easier than the top because it's got a lot longer cylinder part, so you can stick it in. The top one is the trickiest actually, even though you can get at it easier. So what I do find works pretty good is taking the pick and just sticking it on the outside, and just using the pick to push the just to ride up against. It's hard to explain. They get easier if you do all 8 of them. See how it's not kinked over and it's just on an edge there? Just do whatever you have to try not to kink that O-ring over. I got it in there. See that? It's nice all the way around outside. Stick your finger, make sure it's nice and even all the way around, but then it's in. Do that for the other one as well, and then you can put it back together again. Okay, make sure these are nice and clean. Soak them in oil, baby wipes, and brake clean worked good to clean them off. And then nice and evenly pop them back in place. And don't forget that there's an O-ring in here, and replace that at the same time. Before you put the springs in the front there, you can pop that spring back in again through the top. Should go pretty easy. Lube it up before you start. It's one side. There it is. Keep in mind that between each stack there's 2 small O-rings and 1 big one. These 2 small ones aren't a big deal. They're just to catch the oil that runs out in the when you unplug and plug in. But this one, make sure you replace that and replace the gasket at the bottom of the valve stack when you put it back on the tractor. That's all there is to rebuilding that. You can now you can pop that spring and the snap ring back in, and the O-ring in the middle. Of course, they sent me the wrong one, so I got to run back to town and grab the right O-ring for down in there. But not a big deal. Life of a mechanic is returning 30% of the parts that are wrong. Serial numbers, VIN numbers, don't mean squat. And pop your rubbers back on. It's also a good idea to replace the flat face O-rings at the back. Then you know that those aren't going to leak. But other than that, pop it back on the tractor and give her a go.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you love the channel, consider heading over to Patreon. There's a lot of stuff happening there to help support the channel. And remember, if you're not filthy, you're not rich.